Alright, this is part 2 of my discussion about how the Bible's archaeological evidence and the evidence that is overwhelming for a young earth, and that the earth is 6,000 years in age, and how there's overwhelming evidence that the earth is younger than millions of years old. I'm going to be finishing up on that. And let's see where I left off. I was talking about the Sahara Desert, the oldest living things we currently have on Earth, how they're less than 5,000 years old. Now let's get to oil. Okay, the oil under the ground, it's been known to reach upwards of 20,000 psi. People who study this, they say that the pressure comes from the rock that is on top of the oil overburden, but the oil pressure is greater than the weight of overbearing rock. So not just the rock on top is what's causing the pressure. So naturally the oil pressure would have broke the rock in less than 10,000 years, which is another reason why evolution is ridiculous. In Alaska, let's talk about ice cores. In Alaska, they have there's a government project where they drill ice cores out, and in one drilling, the farthest they've ever went is 10,000 feet. And in that 10,000 feet of ice core, they found 135 clear rings in the ice core that they said represent summer, winter, annual rains. But I guess they didn't know about the Lost Squadron. During World War II, airplanes ran out of gas and landed in Greenland. It's called the Lost Squadron. Look it up. A rich guy from Kentucky decided to go retrieve them from under the ice. He had to locate them using ground-penetrating radar. They were underneath 263 feet of ice in only 48 years. That averages out to about 5.5 feet of ice a year. What they did was they melted a hole down to one of the planes. They took it apart under the ice. They lifted the pieces up through the hole and reassembled it back in Kentucky. Now, they said that the deepest hole they ever drilled in Alaska with these ice cores was 10,000 feet. You divide that by 5.5 years and you get 1,824 years. Now the deeper layers, they would get smushed from the heavier layers. So 4,400 years is no problem to accumulate that much ice at the North and South Pole. The guy who actually dug the plane out said that there were hundreds of rings in the ice. Now, how can you get if those are annual rings? How can you get hundreds of rings of ice in only 48 years? It's not annual rains. It's hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. And up there, you can get 5 of those in a week. Here in Texas, I can attest to that. We've had times where it's been in 1 week, it can go from 80 degrees to 50 degrees to, at the end of the week, it can go to 20 degrees. Just this week alone, we had it, or just this year alone, we've had, there was one day, there was a difference of 35 degrees from one day to the next. So this happens a lot, okay? Those are not annual rings. They are hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. They can happen multiple times in a week and multiple times in a month. The last couple things I have to say, the Mississippi River, everyone knows it's called the Muddy Mississippi. It's depositing sediment and mud at a rate of 80,000 tons an hour into New Orleans Delta. The current estimate is that there's about 30,000 tons of mud, give or take, in the Delta. So if the Earth is at least millions of years old, why isn't the Gulf full of mud by now? Right there, that proves the Earth is older than the Bible says. That's what atheists say. Don't you get it right there? That proves the earth is older than the Bible. Well, you're assuming that happened slowly. You're assuming it happened gradually. What happened was half the mud washed out there in about 20 minutes, probably, from the worldwide flood, which is attested to in over 250 ancient legends all around the world, all with similar accounts to Genesis. Same thing with the Grand Canyon. An on-site manager for a drilling company said they were drilling around the Mississippi Delta, or the New Orleans Delta, and around that area, and they drilled through a tree. They drilled through 60 feet of tree at 14,000 feet below the surface. They had dug 14,000 feet into the mud in the Mississippi, in the Delta, looking for oil, and they hit a tree. Okay? All that was washed out there during the flood. It didn't happen gradually over 30,000 years. Now, the Niagara Falls, as you know, waterfalls eat themselves backwards as it erodes the stone. They've been studying the Niagara Falls for about 200 years, and they say it's eroding at about 4.5 to 4.7 feet a year. A guy by the name of Charlie Lyell, back in 1840, said Niagara started probably up here by Lewiston, New York, and it's taken about 10,000 years to work its way to where it's at now. Now, Charlie Lyell hated the Bible. He hated God. And in this book, that was his purpose, was to discredit the Bible. So that's why he said at least 10,000 years, knowing that the Bible talked about a literal 6-day creation event. That's the book that destroyed the faith of Charles Darwin. Look it up. The people who lived there, though, he ignored them. They said, no, it's eroding much faster than that. We've lived here. We've watched it. But he said, no, I know what I'm talking about. He didn't really know what he was talking about. Let's look at the ocean. My last thing I was going to point out. When it rains, 30% of the water, give or take, runs into the ocean. The rest evaporates or soaks into the ground. But as the runoff is going into the ocean, it's bringing with it mineral salts. And because the mineral salts stay into the ocean, when water evaporates out of the ocean, therefore the ocean is getting saltier every day. Because the water is evaporating, the salt is staying behind. It doesn't go with it. Today the oceans are around 3.6% salt. That could have done that in less than 5,000 years. If the Earth is billions of years old, there would be no living creatures in the ocean if the Earth was billions of years old. Or at the very least, it would be drastically. There would be a drastic drop-off in ocean life if it were billions of years old or millions of years old. The oceans would simply be too salty. Look at the Dead Sea. I can't remember where that's at exactly. I believe that's like around 15 to 30% salt. And if even eagles or birds fly over it for a certain period of time, they die because of the fumes that are coming up out of it, and the sulfur and the sodium. So, again, look it up. If you haven't seen, if you haven't seen the video, Kent Hovind's videos, The Age of the Earth, that's probably the one that I would start off with if you want to look more into this. And if you will have an open mind and not be on there to just, just ignore it. Don't waste your time if you're not going to take it seriously. Look up Age of the Earth and Kent Hovind and see what you think. It's all there. That's how science works. You observe something and you make predictions, and based on what we observe, you determine whether that's factual or not. That is exactly what the Bible talks about, and the Bible is overwhelmingly People mock it and misinterpret it and say that it's not accurate. I am here to prove them wrong, and so are a lot of people nowadays out here to defend the Bible, because people are misinterpreting it. They're saying it has contradictions. They're saying that science goes against the Bible, when in reality, thousands of years later, science is just now figuring out things that the Bible talked about. So, in your face. Look it up. Look up the facts. Watch my video, part 1. Watch Ken Hoven's videos. Don't believe anything I say or Ken Hoven says. Look at the evidence presented in the videos and come to a decision for yourself, like a normal adult should do, instead of resorting to bigotry, mocking, and just ignoring evidence, like a lot of evolutionists do, or twisting the evidence to fit your the result you want to see, like evolution, because you don't want to believe in God and you want to believe that He judges sin. So thank you for watching my videos. These are part 1 and part 2. Hope you learned something from them, whether or not you're going to listen to what I say. I don't want you to listen to what I say. I want you to figure it out for yourself. And thank you for watching, and God bless you.